one question, the last one, which I think has to do with something that also students will be interested in. So the last question is, what are the linguistic challenges that you would encourage young generations to focus on?
Well, I think it's kind of implicit in what I've been saying. I think there are pretty good reasons to assume that when language suddenly evolved, it was like everything else in evolution. It took the simplest possible form. No reason that I know to think that human evolution should be different from general evolution. And if that's the case, and we have pretty good evidence that it was sudden, then the computational part of language should be as simple as possible, basically strong minimalist thesis. So the main challenge that I can see is the deep challenge. I mean, there's plenty of challenges, like there's a million questions you can ask about any language you take a look at that you don't understand. So try to work them out using any means possible, just to give an organized account of what looks chaotic. That's always a step forward. It's better to have an organized account than chaos. But bear in mind that an organized account is short of an explanation. You don't have an explanation until you've accounted for learnability and evolvability. That's an explanation. So that's in the back of your mind. We have it now for certain things. So one challenge, I think, is let's try to see just how much can we give an organized account of, looking at the apparent variety of languages around the world. That's step one. In most of the sciences, that's practically all that people do. So if you take a look at technical papers in journals like Nature or Science, the main science journals, most of them are descriptive, technical papers about maybe a particular organism or a particular compound. That's the bulk of science. Then there's the interesting questions in the background. Can we go beyond organized descriptions to actual explanations? How much of language can we actually account for in principled terms, ultimately in terms of something like the strong minimalist thesis, how much of it we do? And the next challenge is, what about all these things that just don't seem to have any reason to be there, like unstructured, unvalued features, for example. 95% of the matter energy in the universe, why are they there? Okay, those are the harder questions. So there's a sequence of questions, challenges, from the very interesting ones about making sense of morphology in Basque, let's say, give some organized account of it, give some explanation of it in terms of deeper principles, figure out why things exist that don't seem to have any rationale. So there's plenty of challenges ahead. I should just say a final word before I leave. When I was a student back in the 1940s, there were no challenges. The field looked as if it was over. Structural linguistics was a terminal enterprise. Structural linguistics described itself as a taxonomic science. You had procedures of analysis, which were pretty well worked out, phonemic principle and so on. And you could then apply these procedures to any collection of data taken from any language, and it would give you the elements of the language and their arrangement. That was it. The field was terminal. In fact, some of the leading linguists were actually doing nothing but collecting data for a good reason. Computers were on the horizon. They didn't exist yet, but sooner or later you'd have computers. You could take the procedures which you knew, you could program them into a computer, feed data into it. It'll come out with the analysis, So what's the point of doing any linguistic work? It's all done. As soon as the first efforts were made to construct what we now call generative grammars, explanatory theories, it turned out that it's not that you know everything, it's that you know nothing. Every sentence you look at poses new problems. That's pretty much where we are now. As soon as you ask the right questions, turns out you don't know a thing. Everything, you're starting from flat. All the answers you thought you had don't mean anything. That's happened repeatedly in the history of the sciences. And I think that's how modern science actually developed in the 17th century. But I think we're kind of in that stage now in the study of cognition, mind, language in particular. So plenty of challenges, huge ones. I'll have to take off.
Okay, thank you. So thanks, Noam, again for being with us, and let's stay in touch. And thanks everyone for attending. And again, thanks a lot for being here, Noam, today.
Okay. Sorry to have to take off.
Okay, bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.